Thank you, Deputy Speaker, sir. I thank my party for giving me the opportunity to speak on a very important and significant bill, the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Bill 2017. In the statement of objects and reasons, the government has stated that on 22nd August 2017, a judgment was passed by the Honorable Supreme Court where Talaq-e-Biddat, more commonly known as instant triple talaq, was held unconstitutional. Further, the statement of objects and reasons ends by saying that this will ensure the larger constitutional goals of gender justice, gender equality of married Muslim women, and help subserve their fundamental rights of non-discrimination and empowerment. So when the Honorable Supreme Court's judgment came, the Indian National Congress Party instantly had a press meet, and before this bill came to Parliament, and we welcomed the Supreme Court judgment. And I have to say that today in this House, we must all join together in applauding the women who gathered the courage to go against a very regressive practice of instant triple talaq. Honorable Law Minister lightly said and very accurately described the balance of the judges, that it was a 5-judge bench and who disagreed with who. But he also in that statement, what emerged with quite a lot of clarity is the fact when they said that please legislate on it, requesting the Parliament to legislate on it, and pending that we are banning it, pending that for 6 months we are staying this procedure. In a very legal technical term, I would say that's a minority judgment. Yes. Today I will say this bill, although the length of this bill is very short, but it actually seeks to amend a very critical law which will have a direct impact on women empowerment and especially the empowerment of Muslim women. We have seen historically that talaq is a unilateral act on behalf of a man and where a woman doesn't have a say. And it is the dissolution of Muslim Marriage Act 1931 which gave the woman a right to approach a court to have her marriage annulled. And since 1939, women have been approaching from time to time, and all the grounds on which a woman can ask for annulling her marriage have been specified in that. However, the reality is, as Honorable Minister said, that this is a practice that is prevalent till today. And as per the question that was answered in the Lok Sabha, which is question number, I think, question number 73. One of the reasons for bringing this bill has been said that since the pronouncement of the Supreme Court judgment, about 66 cases have been reported, and Honorable Minister says in the last 1 week it has gone up to 300. Today, let me put it on record that where it says at section 3 that any pronouncement of talaq by a person upon his wife by words either spoken or written or in electronic form or in any other manner whatsoever shall be void and illegal is exactly what the Supreme Court has said. And even if this bill had not been introduced with this section 3, I don't think that position in law would have changed it. The Honorable Law Minister is talking about the minority judgment of the Supreme Court, which basically says that I am not willing to pronounce it illegal or void, but the Parliament should legislate and bring it, pending which I am staying this proceeding. So this is a historical bill on empowerment of women. We all agree that empowerment of women should happen, and instant triple talaq amounts to a grave act of disempowering a woman and depriving her of the right. But let things not be misrepresented on the floor of the House, so that we know exactly what it is we are working for. Further, sir, it goes on to say that Section 4, whoever pronounces talaq referred to in Section 3 upon his wife shall be punished with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 years and fine. So this bill is in effect. This bill is effectively bringing a matter like divorce, which is generally in the domain of civil jurisdiction, into the criminal jurisdiction. That means now it is going to be a criminal offence, and the logic to that, as per the statement of objects and reasons, is that it will act as a deterrent, and 22 countries, more than 22 countries have banned it. Supreme Court has said it, and Honorable Minister on the floor of the House has said that it has also been regulated in many countries like Bangladesh, etc. But sir, I would like to ask the government that today, if you criminalize this, and if you make it a cognizable offence and a non-bailable offence, Chairman, sir, I would like to ask you that the right to subsistence allowance that you're giving in Section 5, that you're giving to a woman in Section 5, the question is that how will she ensure she gets that subsistence allowance, and who's going to give it to her? And who's going to give it to her? Why I ask this question, and it's my pleasure that the Law Minister is an eminent lawyer and he'll be able to answer it. So if you look at the 1986 Act, Muslim Women Protection of Rights and Divorce Act 1986, what is the difference? There is also 1 year imprisonment in that, and there is also a provision for fine in that. But the difference between that and this, your present bill, is that the 1986 Act says that where a magistrate has passed an order of maintenance, where a magistrate has passed an order about letting the woman stay in the marital home, and the husband is in violation of that order, he will be liable to imprisonment. Therefore, first, he is put in a position to give the woman subsistence or maintenance, the word that is used in 1986 Act, and if he fails, then he goes to jail. And may I say so, if before 1 year of imprisonment is over, if he starts paying that maintenance within 3 months or 6 months, the 1986 Act is clear that his tenure of prison will end. But what have we done here? We have said that the mere utterance of the word talaq, talaq, talaq instantly at one instant, today it is a criminal offence. Chairman, sir, I would like to ask you that isn't this bill silent? That today if I get subsistence allowance from a court after my husband has given me instant triple talaq, the question is, am I allowed to go after the estate of my husband? Yes. Today if he is in jail, there is no provision for it. I'm asking these questions because Kharge ji started by saying we are not opposing this bill, but there are lacunas in this bill, and the standing committee needs to consider it. Since he has disagreed to the standing committee, we are asking these questions. Secondly, sir, I'd like to say, subsistence allowance, how is it going to be calculated? What is the method of calculation? I take you back to the 1986 Act, Chairman, sir, where it is clearly written that what will be the factors that the court will look into. Court will look into the standard of living of the married couple. The court will look into what is the ability and the financial status of the husband, and after that arrive at a formula to say this is the subsistence to the woman. So today I pass a law out of sheer tokenism, but there is no methodology, there is no way of calculating the substances, there is no way for me to enforce it. I want to ask Honorable Minister, who seems to have read, Honorable Minister who has clearly read a very long judgment very thoroughly, that is it not the case that one of the main reasons why the Honorable Supreme Court has declared instant triple talaq unconstitutional is because it does not give any chance of reconciliation to a couple. There is no chance of reconciliation to a couple. That's why they said that if a talaq happens over 3 months, which are the other forms of talaq, we are not interfering with it. But talaq-e biddat cannot be allowed where a man unilaterally pronounces talaq, talaq, talaq instantly, gives no reasons for it, and there is no opportunity for a woman to reconcile. So the question is, today, is it the position of the government? And I talk from common sense and not from my legal knowledge, that is it a real possibility that after I go to magistrate in a non-bailable offence, where my husband is going to be arrested, are you saying that he will sit in a reconciliation procedure with me? Is it possible? And many of the countries, sir, Honorable Minister quoted many countries' legislation where it has been regulated, agreed, where he says that first you have to go to the Muslim Law Board and give a notice that I've given my wife notice, and then has to wait for that period for reconciliation. But the moment you put your husband in jail, I see no reason why a man should even consider, reconciliation with his wife. Secondly, sir, I have a very technical question. Today, the government has made it a criminal liability, a criminal offence. Fair enough. In any criminal offence, there are two aspects to it: the mens rea and the actus reus. Now, I would like to ask Honorable Minister through you, sir, that what is the kind of mens rea you're looking for? Today, mens rea is what? It is the intention. It's the guilty intention. So if a husband goes to the court and says, I had no intention of doing it, I was upset, I was angry, what happens then? Can the wife handle the burden of proof beyond reasonable doubt to prove that he had that intention? Secondly, please specify that are you actually talking, or are you talking about strict liability? That even if he has no intention, the mere fact that he uttered it becomes an offence. Then do you think that married couple will come back together to live with each other? Another thing, there is a principle of proportionality, Chairman, sir. And I'd like to ask the Honorable Law Minister that you have decided on 3 years of imprisonment. Now let us look at the IPC, that what kind of offences are given 3 years imprisonment. Today, Section 148, rioting and armed with deadly weapon, 3 years. 153A, promoting enmity between two groups, that's 3 years. Section 295A, deliberate act to outrage religious feelings, that has 3 years. Today you've acquitted a man who apparently is only uttering the 3 words of talaq, and you're putting him into jail. Today I want to ask the Honorable Minister that suppose it takes her 1 year to get maintenance, any interim order from the court, will this government, today who's beating their chest in favor of Muslim women, will you create a corpus?
Yes.
Will you create a corpus to maintain or give pension to the Muslim women?
Good question.
Will you do it? You will not. You will pass this bill and you will forget about it. I request the Honorable Minister that please think about, if you are really interested in financial empowerment of women, then pending a subsistence allowance, which is not defined, as Premachandran ji pointed out rightly, which is not defined. Is it in addition to maintenance? Will it be adjusted with maintenance? The bill is silent on it. The bill is silent on it. Today the question is, will you give that? Lastly, sir, I would like to say that today everybody wants social reform, sir. Today women empowerment and equality in our country, it is not just an idea, it is a right. It is not just an idea, it is a right. And it is my responsibility, my government's responsibility, is the opposition bench's responsibility to legislate in a way that which truly gives us equality. Today I want to ask Ravi Shankar Prasad ji that you have claimed that this is going to be a huge social reform for Muslim women. Today I want to request him, sir, will we see the women's reservation bill coming to Parliament? The entire country is waiting for that. Because, and let me say, sir, you may think this is not connected to this, but let me tell you, it is not just about representation of women in Parliament, that because we have 50% of population, we should be 33%. But if you had consulted Muslim women, the various NGOs, which admittedly you haven't,
And if you had allowed more women in this parliament, if we all had, not just you, sir, believe me, a legislation like this, full of lacunas, wouldn't have seen the light of the day in this house. Yes. Wouldn't have seen the light of the day in this house. With these few words, I would like to end my speech by one simple question. That, sir, today as a woman, I want to ask you, that when you criminalize something like this, will it alienate the Muslim community more than it already has? It's a very important question we need to ask ourselves as members of the society. And I want to ask Honorable Law Minister that you are not agreeing to legislate against marital rape. And the reason they have given in the Delhi High Court is that it opens the floodgates for abuse and misuse. I want to ask you, sir, that will you be able to ensure the House that this bill will not open up abuse of this law against Muslim men in the country in the name of protecting Muslim women here? If you really want to empower Muslim women, I suggest that to set up a corpus, give them the maintenance, and Supreme Court has already done the job of banning instant triple talaq. You don't need this bill. You don't need this bill to end that practice, but you need this bill to empower women. So add provisions in it. With this, Honorable Minister, sir, I would request you that today when you introduced the bill and suddenly put it up for consideration, we all exceeded. But I strongly believe that just like all the women that you're saying, you said that today morning somebody gave a triple talaq, and this talaq-e-bain which India Today reported, I end with this. I want to say, so there are other forms of talaq, apart than talaq-e-biddat. There are other forms of talaq, and it took you 43 months to pass this bill. If you really believed that instant triple talaq is regressive, then why did you wait for the Supreme Court? You should have done it with absolute majority in Lok Sabha in the beginning. With these words, I end my speech, and I thank the chairman for being so patient with me.
Thank you.